What if I told you some of the biggest songs in the world were being copied, slightly altered, sped up just enough and uploaded to Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok under fake artist names? Names like Kendrick Lamar, Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga. Not subtle, not hidden, just out there, collecting streams, collecting royalties, and the company that's distributing them knew about it. That's the allegation, and it's triggered a $500 million lawsuit. And I'm not coming at this from the outside. I've spent years running YouTube rights operations for major music companies. I know exactly how this system works. And what makes this story genuinely alarming isn't just what's happened. It's what the ending tells you about how this industry protects itself. To understand why this matters, you need to know who's involved. Universal Music Group, the biggest music company in the world, home to some of the most valuable recorded music ever made. They filed this lawsuit alongside Abco Music and Concord Music Group against another major player, Believe. Now, Believe is a music distribution company. Their job is pretty straightforward. Take music from artists and labels and get it onto the platforms: Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Apple Music. And alongside Believe, their subsidiary TuneCore was also named in this lawsuit. Now, TuneCore is one of the biggest DIY distribution services available in the world. If you're an independent artist wanting your music on streaming platforms, TuneCore is probably one of the first names that you came across. So this isn't a story about some unknown bad actor that's lurking in the shadows. This is playing out between some of the most powerful players in the whole industry, which means the questions that it raises don't stay small. So here's what's actually happening. Fake artists, fake record labels, uploading tracks to streaming platforms, tracks that were sped up, remixed, slightly altered versions of some of the most streamed songs on the planet, and naming those fake artists in ways that would be discoverable. Search Kendrick Lamar with the right spelling, and somewhere in those results, Kendrick Lamar shows up. Close enough to fool the algorithm, close enough to catch a casual listener. Now, from where I'm sat in the music industry, running YouTube rights for major music companies, this kind of activity doesn't just happen invisibly. Platforms like YouTube have systems built specifically to catch this type of activity. Systems that match audio, flag suspicious uploads, and track copyright claims. When music goes up that catches a copywritten track, even a sped up version, those systems are designed to catch it, which means either the system failed or someone decided it wasn't their problem to fix. The lawsuit alleges the latter. It says Believe and TuneCore were, quote, overrun with fraudulent artists and had turned a blind eye to it. And here's where it stops becoming a legal story and becomes a business story. The lawsuit doesn't just suggest that fake music has slipped through. It alleges something more specific and more damning. It says that Believe made what it calls, and this is from the actual filing, an affirmative business decision, not an oversight, not a gap in their systems. An affirmative business decision to enter into distribution contracts with anyone willing to sign one of their basic form agreements. Because here's the economics of DIY distribution. You make money on volume. Every artist that uploads a track, every track that streams, that's revenue being generated. And if your model is built on scale, then asking the hard questions about who's uploading what costs you money. So the truth is, the incentive isn't to police this. The incentive is to look the other way. And that's where this stops being about one company. Because Believe and TuneCore are not alone in this market. DIY distribution, the model that lets any artist upload music with a frictionless experience. It's now the dominant way music is getting onto these platforms. It's genuinely democratized the industry in a lot of ways, which can be a positive. But that same frictionless access is exactly what makes it exploitable. And that exploitation has compounding effects. Fake tracks collect streams, those streams generate royalties, and royalties that should be going to the real artists are going elsewhere. And while that's happening, the real tracks are competing against their own bootlegs in search results. Your algorithmic real estate on Spotify, on YouTube, is being eaten by a fake version of you. But here's the part I haven't told you yet. And this part actually changes how you read everything else. Because this isn't just about what Believe allegedly did, it's about what the platforms knew and what they chose to do about it. Now, I want to be specific here because this is the part where I can offer you something that most people that have covered this story wouldn't be able to. When you run YouTube rights for a major music company, and I mean actually run it, managing the rights, the claims, the content strategy, you understand very quickly that this platform is not passive. It has systems, it has sophisticated systems. You've probably experienced one yourself. If you've ever uploaded a video to YouTube and you've gotten a copyright notice a few minutes later, that's the system we're talking about. That's how fast it works and that's how precise it is. It can identify a track from a few seconds of audio. It can catch the sped up version. It can flag metadata that looks like it's there to mislead. So when I look at what this lawsuit describes, fake artists, misspelled names, sped up bootlegs, collecting all these royalties at scale, my first question actually isn't how did this music get onto the platform, it's how did it stay there? Because in my experience, the answer to that question isn't just that the algorithm missed it or the system wasn't doing its job. It's about what happens when a flag gets raised and who decides what to do next about it. Rights management at that level involves constant decisions, what to claim, what to dispute, what to escalate, and what to let quietly sit. And when you're a distribution platform processing tens of thousands of tracks on a regular basis, the incentive to escalate isn't always competing with the incentive to just keep it moving. Now that's not an excuse, that's the environment that we're describing when it comes to this lawsuit, and it's one that I recognize. So, $500 million, major labels, a named subsidiary, a lawsuit that goes to the heart of how DIY distribution actually operates in the industry. You'd expect this to go to court, right? You'd expect discovery, you'd expect evidence, you'd expect years and years of lawsuits and dates and court dates, a public reckoning even. In December just past, after more than a year of talks, suddenly both sides had announced they had reached a tentative settlement in principle on many of the key issues. And then they filed a joint dismissal. Case closed. No breakdown of terms, no public detail, no confirmation on whether money had ever exchanged any hands, no statement on whether Believe agreed to change any of its practices. Just over. A $500 million lawsuit against one of the biggest music distribution companies in the world, alleging systemic, known infringement of some of the most popular songs ever recorded, settled quietly, with no public terms. Now here's what that silence tells you. It tells you that the people with the most to gain from this lawsuit going away had the means to make it go away. It tells you that the public record, the evidence, the communications, the discovery, none of that will ever see the light of day. And it tells you something about how this industry handles problems that are too inconvenient to too many people at one time. Because here's the thing about DIY distribution. The frictionless, democratized, anyone can upload model isn't going anywhere. The economics are too good and the volume is too high. And the incentive to look away is still built within the structure. One expert who reviewed this case put it plainly. They said these problems were definitely not unique to TuneCore. Now, of course, everyone would have taken notice of this in the industry. Spotify took notice. On their website, they have listed platforms meeting their highest standards for quality and anti-infringement. DistroKid's on the list. CD Baby's on the list. TuneCore is still on that list. That's not a coincidence. That's a signal. And if you're an independent artist right now, uploading your music through any of these platforms, the question worth asking isn't just if your music is being protected. It's whether the platforms that you're trusting have the same incentive to protect your music that you do. Because this lawsuit suggests the answer might not always be yes. Case is settled, the terms are undisclosed, and nothing officially has changed. Believe is still operating, TuneCore is still active and distributing music. The DIY model is still running at scale, and somewhere right now on Spotify or YouTube, there's a track out there that probably shouldn't be. I'm not saying this as someone who watches from outside the system. I'm saying this as someone who spent years inside the system that was supposed to catch this sort of thing. The lawsuit didn't fix anything, and the settlement has made sure of that. So the question isn't whether this actually happened or not. The question is who's making sure this doesn't keep happening.